Welcome back to the Competitor Talk. This is your host, Kyle Dangler. This podcast is presented by Ladder Creative Works. And today we're going to move into a little different genre of the show. We're going to go into music. And today we're going to have country music singer and songwriter Logan Mize, who just released his album back in 2017, which hit kind of the top charts in the country music industry with the feature song Better Off Gone. He's been in the music industry for about 9-10 years now with a music label in Nashville, Tennessee. He's from Clearwater, Kansas. He's been active since 2000 and has signed with a record label back in 2010 of April. He's had a few albums. He's had 3 albums, studio albums so far, and his recent one, as we just mentioned, Comeback Road, a single from the album Ain't Always Pretty, was released in 2016 and received over 20 million streams on Spotify. So he's one of the up-and-coming country singers and songwriters. So we're going to be giving him a call now to talk about his career so far, how he's been touring. He's been touring currently in the United States, and he's also toured in the UK. And just talking about kind of how he comes up with the songs, when his next album's going to be looking forward to coming out, and just talking about where the kind of inspiration comes, if you will, for all of his songs, especially some of the hit songs, as recently probably that most of you have heard on the radio or even on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Better Off Gone, which is his newest hit. So we're going to be giving him a call right now to talk.
Yo.
How's it going, Logan?
Good, how are you?
Good, yeah. So thanks for coming on the show. We know you're busy right now, so if you're ready, we could just get right into it.
For sure, man.
Yeah, so I just wanted to start off with you just talking about kind of how you got into the industry. Obviously, you've had some roots in the music industry prior to, getting involved in it. But when did you realize that it could be possibly your career rather than just a hobby for you as a young kid growing up?
I wasn't one of those kids who, really thought things through or had much of a rational thought process. I was just kind of like, this is what I'm going to do, and there's no way I'll fail,
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to be successful really quick. I didn't foresee, this taking over a decade to really get the wheels turning. I just thought, okay, well, this is what I do. I'm going to go to Nashville, and it'll work out immediately. And I was wrong, but it was good for me to have a lot of hard knocks over the years and figure out that there was a lot of people who, maybe were more talented, better singers, better songwriters, better performers. And it gave me a bar, okay, I need to be better than what I am right now. And then every day has just been one of the, wake up, try to get better, and I've just tried to do that for, the last, 13 years.
Yeah, so, going through the process of, having to get, obviously, signed with a record label at some point, but for you, releasing that album, your first self-titled album in 2009, and then shortly thereafter, getting the chance to sign on with Big Yellow Dog Music, for you, how was that process for you to, get involved with them, and, once you got there, was there kind of a sense of comfort and kind of a sense of belonging now that you, finally made it within the industry, signing on with someone?
It was, so I had, my first publishing deal was at a company called Wyoming Sky Music, and there was only 3 writers there. It was me, Dallas Davidson, and a girl named Joanna Smith, and I was there for a year, and I learned a lot in that year, and that's, after I got out of that publishing deal is when I made that self-titled album, and I still was really raw, the songwriting was raw. I didn't even know how to sing in the studio. Singing in the studio is a totally different animal, it's it was really tough for me to figure out. And I had a producer who was really, he really liked the grit in my voice. And so I feel like he wanted me to overdo that. And so I wasn't even singing like myself, it was just really, really,
yeah.
It was, but I put it out, I recorded it, put it out. And it was like, okay, well, I can't take it back now. So it was good because the shows started coming in, and I had, people who were interested in getting us out to clubs and various festivals and stuff to play. So it's like, okay, we started touring, but then it's like, man, people are also listening to this crappy version of me. And I knew I could do better. So I was on the hunt for a new home as far as songwriter, publishing, and a record deal, which in 2009, a record deal was a much bigger event than it is nowadays. Nowadays, a record deal is almost can be an inhibitor. But anyway, I came across Big Yellow Dog, and I really liked the company just because they had a lot of really interesting writers, and they had a lot of interesting, just the hodgepodge of talent they had there, to me, was like the best in town. Between Al Anderson from NRBQ, Sean Camp, there's Sarah Siskind. There's just so many
a lot
really
of talent,
cool people I looked up to. Daniel Tashin, who produced the last Casey Musgraves album. So I was like, I'm going to be with that company. And so I went and met with them 3 times. All 3 times, they didn't even get to a song. Like, I didn't even get to the main office. I got to the front desk with a scheduled meeting, and they're like, okay, well, this just isn't going to work. We don't have time for you today. And then I was like, man, this is really tough. My first publishing deal came so easy.
Yeah.
And I went to every other publishing company in town. No luck. Nobody liked my shit, And so finally, 4th time, I'm like, I'm calling Big Yellow Dog again. I show up late, dumbass 23-year-old kid. And I finally get a meeting with Carla Wallace, who runs the place. Right. I go in. She sits down in this chair. Her back is facing me when I walk in the office. And she's listening to my first album. And she hits stop, and she turns around, and she doesn't even say hi. She's like, tell me how. She's got this thick Southern accent, She's like, tell me how you're any different than Dirk Bentley. And I was like, immediately excited because I love Dirk Bentley. I was like, oh, wow, that's a compliment. But I didn't want to show that I thought that was a compliment. I was like, well, I'm not like Dirk Bentley. I was like, everything in country music is so predominantly Southern that you're so used to hearing like y'all and hee-haw, trucks and dirt roads. And I was like, yeah, I love trucks and dirt roads too, but it's there's a different way of saying it than everyone on the radio who sings with this Southern twang. And Dirks is the only guy maybe in the mainstream at that time who wasn't like a Southern dude. And I was like, that's probably what you're hearing. I was like, I'm not like Dirk Bentley, I promise you. And so I got this big argument with her about the South and country music and how I was from Kansas and just this big thing. I was like, well, we're off on a really bad note here. And so she made me play her a song on the guitar. So I played the song I'd just written. And I had a publishing deal by 2 p.m. that day. So went in there at 10, got in a fight with the publisher, signed a contract by 2. And it was, and we've been working together ever since. Gosh, so almost 10 years.
Wow, yeah. So, going through that, obviously, you mentioned your first self-titled album, kind of wasn't the voice that you were hoping for, your fans and people listening to hear. For you, how did it develop kind of your voice over the past 10 years where, is there anything that you've been doing, either practicing? What did it take for you to, get to this level of success just based on your voice, not even including the songwriting yet?
Man, being on the road and playing shows as much as we have since 2009, we started out maybe doing like 40 or 50 dates a year, which is all we could get, and then the more the brand kind of grew, then it was like, then we're doing 70, 80 shows a year, and then it was like, then in that time I got married, I started having kids, and then it was like, we're turning down shows because it's like, okay, I can't be gone 200 days a year. Well, we were gone 200 days a year, but like I can't do 200 shows a year because that's gone 300 days a year. So I've like tried to cap it at like 120 usually, and doing that many days a year, man, you're singing every night. And plus all the radio promo, bullshit you got to do, which I guess is not bullshit, but you got to do it. So, man, between doing all that, you're singing every day, and you hear a lot of recordings of yourself. And I still like right now we just made a live record in Europe, and I'm digging through all the recordings of it to see what I want to put out. And listening to my vocal, I'm still finding things. I'm like, oh, I need to do this better. I need to do that. Like, it's just constantly tweaking yourself. And so, if you're going to be the best, you got to kind of dig in and figure out where you're not, what are you lacking? So it's just constant revision and editing yourself is kind of what it is.
Yeah. So, besides the voice aspect, obviously, the songwriting aspect, for you, I mean, do you write most of your songs personally? Do you have people helping you out? Is it kind of a combination of both? I mean, what's it like for you to come up with an album, especially like your last album with the 12 songs? I mean, what's kind of the mixture between you doing it and, getting help from, your publishers and, the record label?
So I'm a control freak, and I like to have control. I like to be the mastermind and the creative force behind all of it, and sometimes that's not a good thing. Especially there's two different ways you can do it. I can go be 100% like write every song, produce every song, and be in charge of the artwork and the vision of the whole thing. If it were up to me, that's what I would do. But that doesn't necessarily feed my family because, I can be kind of out there sometimes, for like the normal ear that's listening to music you think is really cool. Like, is this gonna move the dial for you at all? And so I've found over the years, like the Nobody in Nashville record, I think I wrote every song. I co-produced and played a lot of the guitars and mandolin on there. And I think it was a really cool album, but it was lacking some commercial appeal. And not that I'm trying to like sell out and go mainstream or something, but at some point you gotta feed your family. So, and the average person that listens to music, they really just want something that feels good. So I've tried to find a balance of what are the songs I'm writing that fit in that category, and then I have a lot of friends that are great songwriters who are writing these really great songs that they sound like they could be radio hits, but they're also, they're respectable songs, and songs that feel like something I could have written. And so I tried to find the best of both worlds for the last album, the Comeback Road album. And I don't know, like if I'll follow that formula, for the rest of my career. I have some other projects I'm working on that'll be more maybe me, I guess. Yeah. But this was the most successful thing I've done to date, and it's the least involved I've ever been. And not that I wasn't involved, but I let my producer do a lot of the arranging. There was some songwriting I didn't do, and there was a lot of ideas that weren't mine. So it was hard for me to go like, okay, I'm always right. I clearly am not always right. I had people that helped me push this stone over the edge, and now we have all this shit going on. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm kind of like, okay, let's use the help from the friends here because it seems to be working.
Yeah, so like even for the song, "Better Off Gone," which is one of the hits on the Comeback Road album. For you, I mean, what's kind of the inspiration for you? When you get the chance to write the songs, is it more personal stuff that you write about? Because every artist has their own way of going about it. But for you, I mean, is it just kind of you making it up, or is it more personal stuff and memories that you write about? I mean, what's it like for you to eventually come up with the song and the details within it?
So Better Off Gone, Donovan Woods wrote that song, and he's a Canadian singer-songwriter I've always just loved, and I think we're actually getting ready to do a duet together coming up in the spring on a tune. But I didn't write the song. Donovan wrote it. I heard it, and it felt like something I would have written. And so I was like, I have to have this. I just loved it. Yeah. But as far as like writing, when I'm writing, it's always more of a feel than it is. Like every now and then, like I'll really be like pissed off about something, or I'll be I'll really be feeling strongly about something, and it'll work into a lyric that I want to write. Usually those songs don't ever see the light of day because I'll always get too insecure about them. I'll be like, well, this is way too personal. Like everyone's gonna know that I lost my shit on this day and wrote a song about it. It's like, do you really want to put that out into the world? So usually the good songs for me start with a musical idea, and I got to be in a pretty peaceful, serene type of headspace. And usually the music will come through me really easily. That's the easy part for me. I love creating new fun chord changes, cool rhythmic ideas. The lyrics are the thing that I got to be really careful with because, for me, I can't sing something or say something that doesn't feel, I don't know, genuine. So it's like, it's got to come from a real place somewhere inside, but at the same time, like,
not too personal.
It's got to relate to everybody too. So I spend a lot of time on lyrics. Sometimes I struggle with them. Sometimes they come easy, but it's just got to feel. It's one of those things like you feel it when you're playing it. It's either good or it's not. So that's kind of how it works.
Yeah, so something I'm curious about with you personally, going on tour, obviously in the U.S., there's a lot of country fans, but going over to the U.K., I'm curious, when you go on tour over there, I mean, how's the camaraderie with the fans? I mean, do a lot of people listen to country music over there? I mean, what brought you there? And once you're there, just how is the feel with, them listening to country music and, going on tour over there where it might not be as popular as, say, in the U.S.?
It's a different thing. So, like, even in the UK, I noticed that they're more into the songs that I'm into. They're kind of into the more story songs. There's this whole album that never came out in 2013, and we put half of it out earlier on this year. It's called From the Vault, and it's really raw. I recorded it with my road band, and there was a lot of songs in there I loved that it didn't really, no one in the U.S. really ever asks for any of these songs. There's a lot of there's a lot going on in the lyrics, and they're complex kind of stories. I feel like here people just kind of show up and want to drink beer, whereas over there I noticed that they listen to the lyric a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so you can hear a pin drop. Like if I stop a song in the middle of the song in a packed club, there's a bar, there's people buying drinks or whatever, it doesn't matter. You stop the song in the middle of the song, you could hear a pin drop. These people like really, really soak it in and listen, and when they buy a ticket, they want to get their money's worth. Whereas sometimes I feel like in the U.S., country music, it's so saturated here, it's everywhere. So, hey, let's go to this is the Facebook event of the weekend. Such and so is coming to town, and he's a country artist or she's a country artist or whatever. Cool, let's go drink, and people kind of talk through the whole thing. And that's not a bad thing, it's entertainment, and that's what all this is. So I can't get upset about it. I dig both, but it's really cool to see people responding to things when they've really actually listened to what you're giving them. So that's the big difference between, I think, the European crowds and the U.S. crowds.
Now, just personally for you, going through all these different venues, either in the U.S. or the U.K., I mean, what's kind of your favorite venue to play in? Not, the fan-wise, the U.S. or U.K. having to choose between them, but just personally the venue, being on stage, club, bar. I mean, what's kind of the place where you feel almost at home with and, you get most excited for?
I usually get most excited for like theaters or amphitheaters.
Okay.
Usually where there's like a seating option where people can like sit down and like kind of take it in. It's like an evening with whatever. I get burnt out on clubs, but it's not that I dislike clubs. It's just that I've had such a heavy dose of them, for the last more than a decade. Like I've just like beat clubs into the ground. So anytime I have a chance to play a theater or an amphitheater, it's like, oh, thank God, like this is going to be really fun. I can tell some stories, because every time I say I'm not going to talk, let's just play the song straight through. It's like I get halfway through and I'm like, oh, I need to tell a story about this. And if no one's listening, it's like, well, that sucks. Okay, I guess just play the song. But if you're in a theater, people seem to always be like there and present, willing to hear something from you, and I enjoy that part of it.
Awesome, yeah. So something I'm curious about also too with you, just talking about 10 years ago, social media wasn't that big, but as social media keeps on getting bigger and bigger, going in 2016 on your solo acoustic tour, driven by social media, what was the inspiration for that? And going through that, what was it like going to all these different shows in clubs, backyards, hometown bars? I mean, what was it like for you having to experience something that was so not chaotic, but so on the go and not knowing where you were going to be at what time for you and kind of your crew?
Yeah, it was tough because people would have these expectations of us, like hey, we paid for a show, and sometimes they would like I guess feel like they bought you for a day, and it was like hey, we're traveling in an '89 station wagon, it breaks down, we'll be there at some point and we'll set up and we'll play, but a lot of times we get there and they'd be
Oh, sorry, you cut out for a few seconds.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
No, yeah. We just missed. I think like 5 or 6, right after you mentioned, showing up.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, sorry, I'm driving down to Clearwater, Kansas right now. I'm probably switching between towers. Yeah, so they would just have these expectations of, like maybe they feel like they bought us for the day.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, we're in an '89 station wagon. It breaks down. We'll get there when we get there. And I think that was tough for people to kind of like, because you go to a show, it's like the show starts at 8, so get there at 7 when doors open, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, no, this is like a throw and go deal. Like we might barely make it there by the skin of our teeth. So, but man, it was really fun, and I think we're gonna do it again in December and January of this year, just for. I don't know. There's something really interesting about it. It's like this raw thing. Like before the industry was there and had all these pieces in place. You got your management, your business management, your your label, your publishing company, your lawyer. There's just so many people involved to make the thing go, and it's evolved over the years to where it just kind of strips some of the organic nature out of what this really is. And, back in the day, you're out on the prairie and it's just, people out there with instruments and these songs, and they just play for fun and they play, for entertainment. So the cool thing about it is you're taking all of the other pieces out of the puzzle, the entire industry out of the picture. And it's just, here are my songs, here's me. Do you want me to come play them for you? And then people say, yeah, come play. And then you show up, and it just makes it so much more enjoyable for everybody, I think. And so, yeah, I think we're going to do it again. Maybe just like 10 dates or something in January, February.
Now, do you keep it to within a specific region, just, within Kansas or within kind of the Midwest area? I mean, what's it like with the social media drive aspect of it, and, having the pick and choose certain spots? I mean, do you kind of stay local to your area?
The first time we kind of did. The first time we stayed mostly like Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, I think. I think we did like a couple in Missouri, and one in Iowa. But the last time we did it, I think we went to Canada, we went to Vermont. There was one in Las Vegas that we were going to go to, it fell through, but we were all over the place. This time I'm kind of excited to see. We already have one, I think, pending in Boston. So this one could be coast to coast. We'll see. It could be kind of crazy.
Awesome. Now, I noticed in November, the end of November this month, you're going to Australia. Is that going to be your first time going over there?
Yeah, it'll be our first time. We're going to Brisbane just for a one-off like festival situation. I like, it's really strange because I've heard a lot of people say, a lot of American folks that go down to Australia and they'll come back and they'll be like, man, you're all over the radio in Australia, which is weird because, we're not on the radio here. We're kind of more of an underground thing. So it's really interesting to hear that there's like some radio act, because there's no promotion going on down there radio wise. So if there's an organic thing going on, I think this is the highest festival offer we've pay wise we've ever even had, including anything in the States or Canada. So there must be something going on down there. I guess I'll find out in a couple weeks.
Awesome, yeah. And even the beginning of December, you're going to be playing on a Tuesday night in San Antonio with some of the other country stars that like Michael Ray, Ryan Hurd, Gabby Barrett. I mean, for you getting a chance to play with all of them, and even more some of the newer artists within the industry. For you, I mean, is that something that you look forward to, getting a chance to play with them and just be around them for a night?
Well, it just depends. I love those guys. I've known Ryan and Michael forever. You know, I think I used to write with Ryan back in 2011 or something, and I've known Michael for a long time. We used to be neighbors. We used to go to this bar called The Other Place. We lived in this housing area south of Nashville called Lenox Village, and we'd go down there and drink and hang out. So, I mean, I've known those guys forever, and it'll be good to reunite with them. Sometimes those radio functions can get weird because, you know, they'll have like 1,000 requests of you and, you know, 500 person meet and greets and whatnot. But yeah, I am looking forward to hanging out with them for a night and playing some tunes.
Awesome. Now, just so far, you know, throughout your career, obviously, you know, social media has become, as we mentioned before, kind of with the social media tour, but, you know, just social media and the aspect of, you know, promoting and, you know, getting to hear and be more personal with fans. For you, is that something that you look forward to, hearing kind of the feedback from fans on social media, whether it be, you know, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, to get to have a more personal level and connection with them?
I try to connect and make sure that I talk with people. I hesitate to read too much into like feedback from people on social media, because if you're gonna like dig into the positive comments, and if that means something to me, then also the negative stuff has to mean something to me. So
yeah,
and I you know, I just sometimes want to just put out what I put out and let it be there, and if you like it, great, and if you don't, great. But I of course am extremely thankful and you know, just super grateful for all the people who take the time to comment and share the music and say nice things. So yeah, it's great to have the social media for it to spread like that. But I approach it cautiously.
Awesome, yeah. So now, just kind of wrapping up, we had just two questions for you, more on a personal level, you know, outside of country music. Just for you, you know, outside of, you know, getting a chance to play and tour, I mean, what's kind of your hobby, your go-to? Obviously, you know, you have a family and, you know, kids right now, but, you know, is there anything specific that you look forward to doing, you know, on your off days or when you're home, you know, besides getting to play music?
Oh man, I love to be outside. You know, I live in the middle of nowhere, so I can take off running. I love to go running all the time, so I'll go running out on the dirt roads, and man, I can go on a 10-mile run out there and never see another car. You know, it's great. And then you know, I do help a little bit from time to time on my wife's family's farm, which we live like less than a mile from the headquarters of the farm. So I'll go run a tractor or a semi for them, and then playing with my kids. You know, my son, he's really into sports. I'm not a big hunter, but my son is expressing a ton of interest in hunting, so we might
have to get started. Yeah.
And my daughter, you know, she's really musical. She's into singing and dancing, so I goof around with her a lot. We pretend our life is a musical a lot. So we just sing instead of talking to each other. We sing and dance to each other. We have a lot of fun hobbies around the Mize house.
Awesome. Now, just kind of wrapping up for you, you know, throughout your whole musical career, you know, over a decade, is there any particular tour or, you know, you know, stop, if you will, that kind of stands out to you? Any gig that, you know, just kind of, you know, looking back, kind of resonates with you a little more than the others?
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely moments that felt like turning points, you know, like you always remember the ones where you felt like, okay, it seems so stupid to say, but like when you're playing Super Mario Brothers and you make it to the next level, you know, like, oh, I finally beat that level. I'm on to the level 3 now. In the similar fashion, you know, there are certain turning points that you notice because you're grinding it out for a long time, and then next thing you know, like you show up somewhere and you're like, holy shit, these people know my songs.
Yeah.
And then, like, I think there was one we played Talladega in 2015, and a couple of the drivers came out to the show and hung out afterwards. I was like, okay, cool. Like, we've established ourselves on the scene here a little bit. And then there was Fort Lauderdale, Florida, earlier this spring, where we we packed an entire tent and like people screamed all the words to the songs. It was like, well, we've never done that before, you know, like 3,500 people, you know, and just little moments like that, or, you know, being on tour with Leanne Rimes in the UK, you know, early on, you know, exposing myself to the European audience, which, by the way, that tour, like, started this whole thing over there. Us playing in Europe was Leanne taking me over there. So there's little moments like that, yeah, for sure, like, stand out as turning points.
Awesome. Now, just final question: are you working on any, you know, new songs, albums, what you're publishing? I mean, is there something to be expected within the next couple of months or even year?
Man, there's so much. The frustrating thing right now for me is just dealing with the flow of the industry. I have an entire record like written. I'm trying to record it. I'm fighting a little bit with putting that out, and then I have a separate project that we put out the first song on. It's called "Ain't Gotta Grow Up," and it's more of a commercial sounding project. And then I love a lot of the songs on there too. I finish up recording 2 more on Monday. So there's like a whole bunch of stuff like in the shoot. Getting it out to the world is the tricky part, you know, with working with my team of folks.
Awesome. Yeah. So, you know, it was great to hear from you. You know, thanks for taking the time. You know, obviously, you know, you're busy right now with a lot of different stuff going on right now, you know, personally, and, you know, going on the road within the next week or so. So, you know, thanks for coming on. You know, it was great to hear from you, getting to talk to you for a half hour just about kind of your country music roots and, you know, what you've been up to over the past decade. So thanks for taking the time with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. It worked out good. I'm driving down to my dad's butcher shop right now to pick up some meat. So,
nice.
It's good to talk. Somebody to talk to on the way down.
Thanks. Yeah, so thanks for coming on, and, you know, hope to talk soon, and, you know, we can't wait to, you know, hear some of your new music coming out.
Heck yeah. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too.
Bye. Yeah, so that was Logan Mize, country singer. He's been in the industry for over a decade now. His last album came out 2017, Comeback Road, with a feature song, hit song, actually, Better Off Gone. So it was great to hear from him, just talking about, you know, him in the industry and how he's developed kind of his new roots in the industry and how he's developed his voice and songwriting and, you know, going on tour and such. You know, he's a true and blue country guy out in Kansas, as you mentioned right now, going down to his dad's butcher shop down near Clearwater, Kansas. So, you know, it's great to talk to him just about, you know, all the stuff that he's been going up to. Obviously, one of the new country stars, if you will, in the industry. And something that he's looking forward to, I'm sure, is, you know, getting to, you know, get back on the road and, you know, play some of his music, obviously. It was great to hear from him about the UK, too, you know, how his experience as a country singer went over there. And, you know, he's going to Australia within the next few weeks. So it's great to hear from him. And, you know, thanks for listening to us. It was one of the new kind of genres that we're trying to tap into with the competitor talk, kind of going into the music industry. So thanks for listening to us, and hope you have a good day.